Yeah.
Today is 3/11, Fukushima anniversary, the 6th year. The greatest catastrophe ever to happen in human history, followed by the greatest crime in human history, the cover-up of Fukushima. And denial of Fukushima, that's correct. So we're here today to raise awareness about Fukushima, to try to awaken everybody here on the West Coast that we're being nuked, and our politicians are covering it up, lying to us, saying there's nothing to be afraid of, when the truth be told is these lawless tyrants raise the radiation levels to what they consider to be safe, so they don't have to report this epic catastrophe.
They keep raising. In fact, the NRC actually just raised the radioactive limit. In the event of a nuclear meltdown, the rates of acceptable radiation go way up. Like, they increased iodine-131 by, I think it was 33,000%, strontium by something like 60%. I mean, they just increased it super high. And what they're going to do is, if there's a nuclear meltdown, they'll keep the acceptable levels really high until the event is over, and then they bring it back down. So they're just going to let us get poisoned and hope that nobody dies quickly and blames the nuclear industry.
Yeah.
So it's seriously a crime against humanity, and it's one of the biggest things. And people are trained, as you notice, there's nobody here, nobody engaging. People are just trained to ignore it and be afraid of it.
Nobody here.
It's a lonely road. And in fact, I posted this on Facebook, this Fukushima awareness event. I put a note into the EUGENE Weekly, and you know what came out in the EUGENE Weekly? This is how big the cover-up is. It says it's a peace vigil. I said it was going to start from 11 to 1 because Calc told me they wanted it to be here. Michael Kerrigan said he had to be here at 11 o'clock, so I said, great, we'll be at 11. So what goes out in the newspaper? From noon to 1, a peace vigil. So I guess that's politics in Eugene. This is why nothing happens with fixing this nuclear problem, because of the denial and the political backstabbing that goes on. They're murdering our children as we... My own nephew, 11 years old, had a heart attack last week. You think I'm not pissed off about that? Cesium-137 goes right to your heart muscles and weakens your heart, so that weak people and children, when they're starting to have that in Fukushima, when they have those events in Fukushima, the Olympics, which no doubt they're going to, we're going to see our Olympic champions dying of heart attacks as they're racing around the tracks. People are going to get heart attacks and die because Cesium-137 causes heart attacks. It's not just cancer. You get diabetes, schizophrenia, cancer, leukemia, rashes, skin disease, ears bleed, eyes bleed, teeth fall out of your mouth, and that's just from exposure. That's not from being in a nuclear meltdown. So there's a lot of diseases that are going on today that is directly caused from being bombarded by radioactive contaminants since they discovered it. They have been testing us like freaking lab rats ever since, and we have all just been trained to just ignore it and walk along. Like everybody here.
Like lemmings off a cliff.
Everybody's walking around us, you notice, like they're not engaging.
Yeah.
And we look really frightening, don't we?
Yeah, we're so scary.
Yeah, you're really intimidating.
It's your hat, Theo.
Yeah. I would have dressed up today as Rainbow Man, but in the weather, I was like, it's too cold for the rainbow out. Yeah, maybe that's what we need. We need to wake up the athletes, our star athletes around the world. If they came together and said, no, we're not going to go to Japan for the 2020 Olympics, maybe that's what we need to finally blow the lid off of this. Because if the athletes say, no, they're not going to go there, then that's, you know, because this is a world catastrophe, and that's what we need. And if there's enough countries that speak up about this, then bam, we can finally blow it up, you know, blow this out of, you know, get this.
Well, we need to have the truth come out, and we need corporate control to release the scientists to figure out the solution.
Yeah,
so children can stop dying, and people can stop getting sick.
Yeah,
they're not their fault.
They're derelicts. They're not doing their job. Instead, they're lying to us, and there is no science. It's fraud, and they need to be brought to justice.
Although I did read an abstract yesterday that said that they discovered some type of an isotope. I think it was, I forget the isotope, but basically they can manipulate an isotope to absorb the radioactivity out of the water. So there's some scientists that are actually doing some really good work that are really attempting. They're
Australia is reacting to all this. The Great Barrier Reef is dying. So
Are you here for the peace vigil, ma'am?
Yeah, because the Great Barrier Reef dying, that should be worldwide news. You know, all the corals turning white. You know, the fish are dying. We've had, just over this winter alone, there was 6 new humpback whales that washed up in Hawaii. We've got 8 now species of bees that have made the endangered species list in Hawaii. And we have the fish collapse, like I said, the salmon and the steelhead. The Endangered Species Act should have kicked in because they've reported less than 500 steelhead. And, you know, we got commercial fishermen here in Oregon that are like, the fish have gone extinct, but they're not reporting this because they will not allow this truth to get out there. They do not want us, they want to keep...
They do not test any of the dead animals for nuclear radioactivity, as a matter of fact.
So we got to do...
They do not test at all any of the radioactive nuclides. There is no testing of anybody at all. In fact, across the board, they don't test our food, we don't test our bodies, we don't test the dead animals. We're just supposed to just accept the fact that we have to live with being radioactively contaminated. We get cancer, schizophrenia. Schizophrenia is one of the first things that shows up, ironically. And
Really?
diabetes. Diabetes and schizophrenia show up like that. Skin rashes show up. Your ears will bleed, your nose will bleed for mysterious reasons. I mean, people get common illnesses and they think like it's their fault, they're doing something wrong. No, it's because we're being exposed. Like right now, the radiation comes down. There's huge plumes of radioactive contamination coming from Fukushima because it's still spewing out for 6 years. It's been going non-stop for 6 years.
Yes, this is nuclear radiated
Comes
rain.
down in the rain. So it's very important for people to cover their heads in the rain, protect your bodies, do not let it get into your mouth.
Yes, and we got Kevin Finnegan here with the emails. We have actual emails from Hillary Clinton that said in April of 2011, less than a month after the catastrophe, one of her emails says, if you go outside, wear a mask, take a shower, because of the radiation, to, you know, clean yourself off of it.
Wow.
And they didn't tell us this. We've been getting radiated. Instead, they raised the radiation levels on us. And so we need to bring these tyrants to justice for covering up this catastrophe. Yeah, we are the real activists now. We are the media, because these fake scientists and these fake political leaders, these tyrants, they're not doing their job. So we got to do it for them.
Well, I think we need to give them courage to speak out. Because the thing is, if everybody spoke out and demanded that scientists be able to find solutions, I think we could find solutions. I mean, part of why Pete DeFazio ran away from you is he's scared to death of being outspent. I mean, as it is, Art Robinson spent $33 million in our district to feed him. Art Robinson's the man who thinks we should be drinking radioactive water to acclimate our bodies. Seriously, he's the Republican candidate who thinks we should be drinking radioactive water.
Yeah.
And they spent $33 million in our district last term when the election came on to try to beat him. So Pete DeFazio runs away because he's scared if he comes out against nuclear, they're going to spend a lot of money to stop it. So, I mean, our officials have been seriously colluded and coerced. So we're out here because it's the 6th, I guess it's not an anniversary, but 6 years of ongoing radioactive contamination from Fukushima. So it's very important that we learn how to protect ourselves, keep the rain out of your body. Our skin provides 90% cover, fortunately, although the gamma rays go right through us and into our hearts, into our organs, into our bodies, so we're still super screwed. And this is the thing, we have been actively contaminated for a long time. So it's not just Fukushima, but the offense with Fukushima is that the contamination is still ongoing. We have 6 nuclear meltdowns in Fukushima that have not been stopped. So it's extremely important that we pressure our elected officials to figure out a way to plug the gaping hole. It's like the Earth has been shot with a bullet and she's just been bleeding for the last 6 years, and nobody cares. It's incomparable. My nephew had a heart attack last week. He's 11 years old. An 11-year-old child should not be having a heart attack.
No.
These are the known effects from nuclear radiation. So it is very important that we get actively engaged.
What would be the alternative?
To what?
to what you're talking about? I mean,
right here. Release Tesla's technology that have been suppressed for over 100 years.
And besides that, nuclear does not provide us with that much energy.
Yeah.
They say 20%, but in truth it's less than 10%.
Nuclear energy accounts for only 11% of energy that we use in the whole world. Yes.
And it's the most expensive.
And it's the most dirty, the most toxic. It's killing us all.
It is not clean, green, or cheap.
okay, so what would be the alternative then?
Stop all nuclear.
Stop right now. Just shut down every single nuclear power
And what
plant.
would that benefit us?
Well, because we won't
aside
continue.
from what you just said, how would that
Well,
be beneficial?
besides, that's like the most important thing, not just besides. That is it. You know, like, we can't continue to poison ourselves and not look for solutions. Every nuclear power plant produces 1,000 Chernobyls every year.
Right, look, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to be argumentative.
I get you, but you know, I understand. I think the alternative is what?
Free energy. Stop participating
Free
in their...
science from corporate control. That's the alternative, because right now they're super screwed.
It's all taxpayer-funded subsidies to keep the plant running.
And we need to stop participating in their lawlessness. Just expose them and just not go along with them. We need to, live sustainably, get off grid, switch to solar and wind power. If you can afford it, and you can actually afford to make one of Tesla's inventions, free energy devices, if you can do it without getting caught, because they actually have written in their lawlessness that anybody found with a free energy device is automatically a criminal and they will arrest you. And so if you can do it, more power to you, but that's the solution. Switch to solar and wind or free energy like Tesla had, that, like he said here, because there's no excuse for any of this. We do not need this epic catastrophe, but like he said we're going to live to see the day that we're going to man-made horrors that we cannot comprehend. Well, Fukushima is what he was warning us of, and sure enough, he was right.
And you know what? This is sad part. Fukushima is not the only one. Look at all. This is just in the United States. Indian Point is leaking 67,000% of tritium is over allowable limits pouring into the Hudson Bay every day nonstop. The WIPP in New Mexico is a waste processing plant that collapsed. It blew up and it's leaking americium, all on the native lands. In fact, native lands get almost all the uranium waste. The cancer rates among native men is like 90%. It's outrageous. St. Louis, the citizens of St. Louis are living right next door to a burning nuclear dump site that was illegally buried by the Army Corps of Engineers, or by the DOE in 1962. And it came on fire because it was mixed into a dump site with Bechtel, the waste from Bechtel and Monsanto, and they didn't even follow their own safe practices, and it spontaneously combusted. So it's an underground fire, and the smoke is billowing into the homes of about 300,000 people who are getting sick and dropping off like flies like that. San Onofre nuclear power plant is closed down, but the waste sits there and it's beginning. The land at San Onofre belonged to the Navy, and when it closed down, the Navy refused to take it over because it's too radioactive.
Wow.
I mean, these are things that we don't. Diablo Canyon in California, it's scheduled to shut down soon, I guess, in like 5 or 6 years. That's considered soon. Diablo Canyon, they do not even store their waste. They just dump it into the outlet and it goes right into the Pacific Ocean. And then we have Hanford. All of us know Hanford in the Northwest. Hanford is where they built the bomb, and it's sitting right next to the Columbia Generating Station, both of which are sitting on earthquake faults. Overdue earthquakes are due there. And they have spilled over 1 million gallons of radioactive contamination in the Columbia at Hanford, and it's all seeping into the Columbia River.
Yeah, 60% of all nuclear waste in America is stored at Hanford, right there here in Washington. And the whole Columbia River is contaminated, the Willamette. This is why the fish are all dying. They're in Bonneville. For last year, I was ranting about this. They started killing the sea lions, because the sea lions swam all the way upriver to the dam to find food, because there's no food. They came all the way inland because they're starving to death, and so there were so many of them eating what little fish were left that they just started shooting them. They put a bounty on sea lions. It's disgusting.